Hey everyone, it's Mikey, and as you can see, I have a prosthetic on my face. So today we're going to be working on prosthetics. As you can see, I've got this just glued down basically at this point. There's a lot of work that we need to do with this to kind of make it as realistic as possible, especially if you're just getting like one inexpensive, cheap prosthetic like this was. I did use a good spirit gum. This is Mayron's spirit gum, and what I did was took a brush and put it all the way along every edge of it, and then I brushed afterwards and then kind of went down and rolled the excess out. Sorry, it's so hard to do in the mirror because it's, or on the camera because it's opposite. So I should go. Need to look in the mirror. So you just kind of roll it out. Now keep in mind, spirit gum is tacky and sticky, so you don't want to leave your brush or your pencil, whatever you're using to flatten it out, on there for very long. You want to roll it out. So, alright, the next thing I'm going to do is go in and do some foundation to start matching out the skin tone. So I'm going to be using Dermablend. Another product that I'm going to be using today is another Mayron theatrical product. This is modeling wax, and we're just going to play around with this and see what we get, what we can come up with to kind of make this side of the face look, I don't know, eaten. We just watched, we just watched that movie with Milla Jovovich. So, anyways, I'm going to go ahead and start getting some foundation on, and we'll be back in just a second. Okay, everybody, we are back, and as you can tell, I've went ahead and basically kind of whitened out this side of my face. Not really whitened out, but just taken some lighter skin toned Chroma 3, or no, this is Chroma 2.5. This is the medium beige from Dermablend, which is going to be the most extreme full coverage concealer that you can find that I've personally worked with. It will cover anything from rosacea to acne to burn marks. It's really remarkable foundation. So, and a little tiny bit goes a long ways. I've only barely used this much, and generally I'll start with about that much. It's just a teensy amount, and it'll spread out just amazingly for you. So I'm actually using, usually I'll use a wedge sponge, but today I'm going to use a foundation brush just because I'm going to do this half of the face, and I have one on top of the prosthetic to kind of blend that, get that blending in. As you can see, I got a couple flaps up there, so what we're going to do real quick, and I'll do this on camera so you can see, with this, just make sure you're using a brush that you don't mind getting ruined if you don't have spirit gum remover, but it's still not going to be the best on your brush. So I'm just going to take the spirit gum and run it right along that edge there, right along the outside of it. And just start pulling down in the areas and rolling. It's really right here that's bothering me. Alright, so you kind of get the basic idea of how I went in and got that applique on. Now I'm going to do, start going into the Mayron molding wax, so I'll be back in just 1 second. Okay everyone, so I'm back, and basically what I've done is I've taken my Mayron modeling wax and I have put it kind of all over my face. I want to look like I have a gash up here. I've just been using, this is like an artist brush, so I've been using the rounded end on any areas like that. With this modeling wax, the warmer it gets, the easier it gets to work with, but it can also get really sticky, so you kind of want to work quickly with it. But I've also put it all around here to start getting just an icky, dead, crawling skin kind of look going. I've also put just kind of a line of the modeling wax right here because I want it to look like a vein bulging out. So the next thing to do is go in to set this. We're going to set it with Ben Nye Neutral Set. This is just a translucent, colorless face powder. Ben Nye Against Theatrical type stuff. So you're going to want to pay close attention to any areas that you've recently worked with the wax. So you're not changing the shape if you've got the shape down the way that you want it. Oops, there went a bunch of brushes. Make sure you're using a brush you don't care that much about. I'm just going to use this fake MAC 150 that I've had for a little while. And just get the face powder on, and it's going to go everywhere. But just be sure you want to kind of set all this in before you start working on your shades and your contouring. Because you're really not going to get your skin to take any shadows or shading right now with the wax and the moist Derma blend, because you know it's a heavy duty concealer and it really does need to be set and it needs to be completely dry. So just let this sit in for a little while. I'd say a good at least 2 minutes. Any longer is better. But so yeah, so I'm gonna let this sit in and dry, and then we'll come back and start shading and contouring this kind of zombified look. Let's pull out the wax a little bit more right there. Thin it out some. Yeah. Alright, so and you can, I don't know if you're picking up the texture that well. I'll kind of try to zoom in on it. Alright, anyways, so we'll be back in just a minute after this is dried to start shading and contouring. Okay, everybody, we're back. So, basically at this point, what I've done is I went around the scarring tissue that basically I created with a really dark shade, and then took a large fan brush and just basically pulled that out. And then I went in between that darker shade and the prosthetic with a really, really light shade, which is going to give you a contrast to present more bruising. Next, I went in with red, and it's really important to use matte when you're doing this kind of makeup. So make sure everything you're using is matte. You don't want sparkle or shimmer in it. Anyways, I've taken the red and I began to create blood veins to kind of give the illusion that it's spreading. So now that I've got the red on, I'm going to go over that with some purples and some blues. Probably more blue to get that purple effect with the red. So go ahead and start working on that. I'll take this one here, and for me, I just need a really, really wet brush. Number one, it's going to make the shadow a little more vibrant, and it'll make it easier to do placement. So you just want to start going over that red with another contrasting color. And I'll probably go over the blue at the end with a purple as well. Alright, so go ahead and do that with your blues. And just make sure that the veins are kind of splitting off like they tend to do. You can always look at like the scale of the human body, and they always show how the veins just kind of branch off, splitting out. So Resident Evil was the movie I was trying to think of, by the way. Alright, so as you can see, it's beginning to take its shape, so go ahead and continue doing that, and we'll be back in a minute. Alright, so we're back, and I'm continuing to work on the purple, just to kind of finish out the veins. And give it, you know, as realistic a look as possible. So, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of this powder and go into the prosthetic with it. Especially with this one, just because I've had it for a while. It's been sitting in my box. So it's gotten like translucent powders on it. Just making sure your brush is really, really wet with these applications. Alright, so the last thing I'm going to do I keep having to wet my brush. That's why this is a palette that I really only use on myself for hygiene reasons. These Coastal Scents were basically my beginner learning palettes, and I still have them all. So they do last a long time. They're fairly well pigmented. There's just a lot of shimmers in them, so I think now they're making more mattes. So you can get an all matte palette if you're doing more makeup like this than actual just day-to-day makeup. Alright, so now that we got all that going out, let's go on to some cream paints. And we might as well start out with the red. I'm just going to take it and put it into a little pot. And then find another brush. And this time I think... Oh, okay. Yeah, that one stuck together a little too much. I'm going to go into the brush that I was using actually with the spirit gum. And I'm just going to go start painting into the prosthetic. Or the appliance, whatever you might be using. Do it into your gash.
Also, my father said I say yes. What happened? What happened? The other guy. This big giant. Hey, Gwen, honey, you want cocoa? Howard's making some cocoa.
Alright, you may, like right here, I'm going to have to do a touch-up with the spirit gum more actually. I might be able to spin it down since I was using the modeling wax. But, alright, so yeah, that's pretty much the look that I'm going for. With this one, the last thing I do is maybe throw in a white contact. Let me see if I can find one. And I'm not sure if you're able to really well see the paleness in the skin versus the other side. Yeah, see, that tends to wash everything out, but you know, you could even do some of that down over your eye, which I've done that before. The problem is it begins to annoy me as the night goes on, and I just want it off. So, but however you want to take it, whatever direction you want to take it in, like Bob Ross always says, just kind of play with it and let it take on its own embodiment, let it take on its own shapes. So go ahead and set this again with your Ben Nye or whatever translucent setting powder you're using. Just at the very end, make sure you're doing really, really light tapping onto it, and throw maybe a white contact in. So maybe I'll do that, and we'll be back in a minute. Okay, we're back, and I forgot, you know, the last finishing touch I wanted to do was add some circles around the eyes and some crow's feet just on the outside of the eye, which are simple enough to do. and a wide eye, and there you have your zombie with a really cheap prosthetic appliance. So, hope you guys enjoyed this one. Talk to you later. Bye.